Willow, Willow, I'm sick today. You're gonna have to carry the show.
I'm not Willow. Willow couldn't make it this episode, but I appreciate you having me on, Mr. Shaquille.
Oh, wow. Ina Garten, is that you? I can't see through my bleary, sick eyes.
You might have to explain the meme. I'm maybe a little too old to understand.
I won't. Let's just get into the news.
Food Network has announced it's canceling The Kitchen after more than a decade on air, ending on a festive note this December. Fans are disappointed, saying the network has drifted from its roots in authentic educational shows towards flashy, competition-based entertainment.
I'm just gonna say, I'm not gonna keep up the sick voice. I can't do it. I can't carry on like that. So
I couldn't tell if it was maybe rooted in reality a little bit.
Not this time. The business news consumer in me wants to pin this all on David Zaslav's WB/Discovery. I don't know how much normal people think about that sort of stuff, but they've been pinned as like one of the biggest losers of the year. They're continuously beaten down and ridiculed. And I think that this might be one of like the historic all-time flubs of our time, like Yahoo or Pets.com. But since this is more of like a food/culture show and less of a business and finance show, I will comment on how The Kitchen, the show, is one of the most obvious cases of being made obsolete due to social media. Like, this is the type of fun, casual cooking show where the recipes are less serious. They have ice cream lasagna and chicken pot pie in a mug. But the folks who consume that type of content should have moved on by now to TikToks and Reels. They'd be able to skip the recipes that they don't like in one swipe. They'd get more recipes specific to their taste due to algorithmic feeds, and they would build an even more intense parasocial relationship with the host because they're able to comment directly towards them.
The thing that I would argue with that, though, is that, I don't have like the information for that offhand, but I'm guessing that the people watching Food Network are of a significantly older age demographic than the people regularly using TikTok. So the people who were watching this kind of show probably not seeking out like short form content on Instagram and Reels.
I would normally agree with you if not for the fact that I have recently discovered what Facebook is like. And, I made a Facebook account to interact with my HOA, and there are old people on Facebook, mega bigly. And since Facebook is owned by Meta and so is Instagram, the Reels are there.
Yeah, I don't know. See, even I feel like Facebook is just such a whole different ball game. It's like the Wild West of the social media. And while I do associate it with an older crowd, I still feel like TikTok is maybe a little out of reach for some of those people. Maybe I'm wrong there, but I think to me the biggest mistake with the Food Network in all of this is not pursuing like social media or any other sort of like shorter form or YouTube content earlier. If you look at the Food Network YouTube page, it has, 3 million followers, and it's 99% just like 8 to 10 minute clips of existing Food Network shows. And I feel like, especially if they were to have really jumped at the opportunity to start creating more digital content, say like when Bon Appetit started to go downhill and there was kind of a void that could have been filled online, particularly on YouTube, that could have been good for them, especially with a show like this where, it's the multiple hosts, that sort of like cozy vibe that maybe develops a little bit parasocially, like, oh, these are my friends that I'm hanging out with online, kind of. I think had they leaned into something like that a little bit sooner, we would see Food Network doing a little bit better than they are.
I don't buy that because it's sort of like saying, why don't the porno studios just make an OnlyFans account for their studio? Like the business model is not congruent or compatible with the current business environment. Like the whole reason why it's great to be a creator right now is that the income to employee ratio is so high. And what if Alex Gornishelli is going to be a TikTok star, she might as well just do it on her own instead of doing it under the Food Network name and having 15 employees working as part of the show. And we saw that with Carla Lolly Music quitting her YouTube career because of the same problem. There's just too many employees, camera people, editors. It does feel like every major TV channel that doesn't rely on delivering news is kind of just fighting for the watch time of people who are at hotels. Like, I only watch Chopped if it's in a hotel room. I did get a haircut at Sport Clips during Shark Week. That was a pretty similar vibe, just held captive in one spot with my eyes glued to a TV show so bad that it was entertaining to marvel at its existence.
Are you insulting Shark Week? Get out of here. For real, though, I can't could not tell you the last time I watched cable television, especially the Food Network. I mean, in my opinion, the Food Network has been overrun with flashy game show slop, for a while now, and I'm definitely bored of it. Like, you could argue that the Food Network is kind of just like the Fieri Flay Fun Time hour these days.
What's something that's really interesting to me is that, like, since we have been alive for so long, we've been able to see things just sort of slowly change, but it never really clicked with me until having a child that it's like, my kid is never going to know what it's like to have to watch anything like reruns or an unwanted portion of a show. Everything is just on demand. And that's not that weird of a concept until you see a child learn it from scratch. Like, he watches a show that has come on and he's like, no, I don't want that. I want Blippi School Bus. And then like Miss Rachel starts singing the bubblegum pink song. Bop, bop, pop, bop. I forgot how it goes because he always makes me skip it. He's like, no, I don't like this part. It's just like, wow. You need more hardship in your life, maybe.
I do think that's something kind of like what you're almost referring to with your child here is like the difference that we see between like the content that certain channels put out now versus what they did like 10, 20 years ago. Like, I see a lot of comparisons with this Food Network thing between, MTV declining from playing music videos into like 99% reality show slop. And I think that it's kind of the same thing now. What I did discover in my research is that MTV has a food show that I didn't know existed. Are you familiar with Deliciousness? It's a spinoff of
No.
Rob Dyrdek's Ridiculousness.
What a world. I remember when I did have an agent sort of like pitch me to food television networks, and he was just like, oh, Stand and Stir. It's so out. You cannot do Stand and Stir. You have to do like Crime Scene Kitchen where there's some sort of game show element to it. So I don't know. What is Deliciousness? Is it a game show?
It's not even really like focused on the food in the way that like a Food Network show would be, and it's kind of funny because it's like tied to the Rob Dyrdek delicious or ridiculousness, but he's not really on the show. He like comes on once in a while as like a guest. It's all very like detached. It feels entirely out of place on MTV, and it would feel entirely out of place on a food channel like Food Network.
But it would feel entirely in place on a 24-inch TV inside of a hotel room.
Florida line cook Carlos Marquez was charged with stealing 3 secret recipe books from his workplace to be used at another restaurant, facing up to 15 years in prison and a $10,000 fine for trade secret theft.
The part that trips me up the most is that this is a line cook who has the power to introduce recipes to his new place of work. Surely he was hired to do this by someone with actual power, right? Otherwise, what line cook benefits from knowing desirable recipes? Their job is just to execute what they're told to, right?
Yeah, I mean, especially, in this setting, he was like a new employee at this place, and his other job appears to be at like a smoothie and sandwich shop, so it's not even like the same type of cuisine. So there is a lot of speculation that he was maybe hired by another chef or restaurateur to obtain these recipes for somebody else. It could also be, maybe this guy wants to open up a Venezuelan restaurant down the line, though I think that would be the wrong way to go would be to steal the recipes first before opening the restaurant. I just found this funny as somebody who has worked in restaurants, and, everybody steals recipes from their place of work, mostly for personal use, but not always. I have definitely seen and heard of, especially back where I used to live, which was sort of a very restaurant-driven tourist community of stolen recipes and things like that. But it never really occurred to me until this story that there is an extent of it to which it could be considered like trade secret theft. I looked up what qualifies as a trade secret in Florida, and the 2 qualifications are that it must derive independent economic value from not being generally known or readily ascertainable to others who could obtain economic value from its disclosure or use, and 2, be the subject of reasonable efforts by the owner to maintain secrecy. And that second one is what trips me up a little bit. Like, if this is just a book sitting on the shelf, easily accessible to any employee in the business, that feels like maybe not a trade secret. Like, did he have to go into the office?
They surely must have to. They have to teach the recipes to everybody, so it does become knowledge of everybody in the kitchen. I think by putting it into like a book, into a binder that's actually physically there, that's like, these are the trade secrets, that makes it more easier to defend the fact that like this is a trade secret. And under Florida law, the theft of trade secrets is a felony punishable by up to 15 years of imprisonment and or fines up to $10,000. So I don't think this fella is going to get to open his Venezuelan restaurant.
No, I don't think so. I do not think so. But I will say, like, the recipe book thing is very common. Pretty much everywhere I've worked, there has been like a binder of kind of default recipes, either used now, used previously, a lot of times photocopied directly out of cookbooks and things like that. It's not like this golden tome, leather bound, secret book that you have to swear your hand on when you get hired at the restaurant. I could understand if this was like a Coca-Cola secret formula, KFC, however many 27 herbs and spices or something. But this feels a little far-fetched to that.
I personally see no points for his case and only points against it. Like, he took the physical books, which is more damning. I think whenever we talk about recipe theft on this show from cookbook authors or influencers, it's mostly speculation since we don't see them physically taking the content and stuffing it into a bag before relocating it. We can only kind of, speculate as to how, like, oh, they must have Googled this and then taken this measurement out. But this seems very easily open and shut. That guy did it, especially because he only worked at this restaurant for such a small amount of time. It was like a month. So he got in, worked a very few number of days, took the treasured recipes, and then I think that's the only like speculative part is like speculating as to whether or not he's giving that book to somebody else who hired him. But I think it's a pretty easy speculation to make, to say, hey, this guy would have no benefit from having recipes other than to start his own restaurant, I guess. But since he's just a line cook, there's nothing he could do with them on his own. So this might go deeper. We might find another person involved.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, there's camera footage of him going in and taking these cookbooks off of the premises on 2 different occasions. Like, it is very cut and dry in the sense that, like, yes, he went in there and stole something. It sounds like he's kind of just a bad criminal, though. I mean, we got smartphones. Like, if there's such an in-demand recipe in there, just take a picture of it. Like, this feels so silly to go that far. Like, it can't be every single thing in that book is, like, so desirable by other restaurants, This place has only been open for, like, 2 years, but has become very popular in their area. But I can't imagine that, like, every single recipe on the menu is needed by these other people.
The Louvre heist raised the bar for criminals. This guy's not rising to the occasion. My uncle, I remember, worked at Outback Steakhouse in his young years, and he would always come to our house and like cook the Outback Steakhouse style macaroni and cheese for everybody. Because it's like, look, I can make restaurant food at home. Did you ever have one of those where it's just like, this is a restaurant recipe and I know it?
Oh yeah, I mean, I've definitely made many times in my life. What is it? The Red Lobster Cheddar Bay biscuit dupe recipes and things like that. But with that kind of thing, I feel like it's so widespread, when you have hundreds of locations for a restaurant, I think there is an expectation that, like, people are going to find out, people are going to share it.
The second part of that is that he also took several of the like steak knives and silverware from Outback Steakhouse and gave them to us so that we could use them at our house. I remember going to Outback and as a kid being like, wow, they have the same knives as us. And all our family just being like, shut up.
That's so funny. I love that. That's such a huge commitment. Like we have Outback at home.
Yeah. He's in jail now. I miss him.
62-year-old Kent Burris has gained a large following as a Texas food influencer for his open-minded exploration of other cultures' cuisines, using his generational perspective to approach new foods with humility and openness, going out of his way to use verbiage like "not for me" rather than say a dish is bad.
All right, who's surprised at this point that I'm going to be Mr. Downer while you presumably take the position of someone who is tickled and excited by this person?
You're exactly right. I love old people influencers. I think that they are so cute. Give me something like this over a Keith Lee any day.
I watched a couple of his videos. I feel as though the desirable qualities of the media are misattributed. Like, first of all, the pitch is like, look at how wholesome and lovely this old guy online is. And I'm always going to be like, okay, if your enjoyment of this guy is going to be entirely pegged on how wholesome he is, do not ask him any questions about his personal beliefs on anything ever. He's an old man. It's a losing game to enjoy someone's work because you understand their worldview to be correct. And second of all, the part that gives me like a warm, fuzzy feeling has less to do with his personality and more to do with revealing how great of an experience dining out can be when you go to learn or try new things, and then you connect personally with the owners and employees, and you chat them up and you take their recommendations instead of just going to eat a meal with you and your friends. Like, he's there alone and he's there with intent.
Well, that's not totally true. He's actually there with his like wife and family a lot. They're just not shown on camera. And there are videos where you see him kind of like interacting with the employees, like talking about the cuisine. Like, he's really taking a moment to kind of like learn a little bit about the stuff that he's about to consume. And while I agree, we should not necessarily like put too much stock in like wholesome stuff, because like there's always something around the corner. Everyone's favorite creator always has something.
Milkshake duck. Never mind, carry
Am
on.
I supposed to know what that is?
Nope, go on.
Is everyone gonna shit on me in the comments for not knowing what that is?
Yeah.
I'm so out of touch, guys. I'm old. How old is Ina Garten? She's gotta be like 70. I'm 70, guys.
So you remember the guy who went viral for trying butter chicken for the first time in his car, and he had such a positive discovery experience that everyone seemed to react with like, oh, okay, white boy, get it.
I do, but I lost interest in that guy when he like very quickly followed that up with like butter chicken in a fondue fountain in his car. I was like, you know what? Never mind. I don't care.
Right,
I don't care anymore.
Because time goes on, and then it's just like, okay, we have another kind of dweebish guy doing food reviews in his car now. And furthermore, he's incentivized to give a positive review to whatever he's reviewing, not necessarily because of sponsors and brands like the car food reviewers of old, but by the viral potential of having another one of those moments where people go, oh, yay, he likes our regional cuisine. Woohoo, that's based and wholesome.
I mean, yeah, it's cute. And especially in the context of like an older guy like this, like it's never gonna not be cute for me to see a video that's like old fart white guy tries spicy Thai food for the first time and things like that. And I will say that something that I do find a difference here is that, like, given that this guy is like an older, retired, like corporate professional, he's not trying necessarily as hard to make money off of something like this as much as like a young 20-something trying to like really kick off a TikTok career might be. So he, might be inclined to be a little bit more honest, but at the end of the day, he's like really not being like a downer about any of it. He's very careful with like the verbiage that he uses to try and like not offend anybody. He's not trying to be like, this is really good Indian food, because he's like, I don't really know a ton about Indian food. In an interview I saw with him, he referred to himself as the world's grandpa, and I really think that is just, if you can encapsulate that kind of vibe, then you're going to do well on social media. Like, maybe it's just because like I don't have grandparents that I'm close with where I'm just like, oh, sweet, wholesome old man, like my grandparents were kind of racist. Like, it's nice to see this nice old man. But I don't know. I think it's a net positive.
There's this recurring joke where it's like, I wish I could give a sour Skittle to a Victorian child and see how they react, where it's like, that's how I feel about giving clout to a guy who did not grow up online and does not understand what you might run into during that journey, where he's just like, yes, I'm the world's grandpa. And the next thing you know, he's like, what have I done? I don't know. Go ahead.
You get that exact content with these kind of people, though. You literally get the Victorian child trying a sour Skittle in the form of like the 60, 70-year-old men on Instagram eating sour candy for the first time. There's this woman I love. Her username is Rankin Reviews, and she's always eating like the weird, gross new like collab items at like gas stations and Dunkin' Donuts and things like that. And I love her so much. I want her to adopt me. I can't get enough of this stuff.
We have such different feeds, it seems. I feel like there's nobody who even reviews food online. Like, everybody who's like, oh, yeah, he's this really big food reviewer. It's just a guy eating a cookie. Be like, this is a chocolate chip cookie. It's really soft. You see the chocolate? 7 out of 10. Like, there was no review given. So until I, can point my finger towards somebody who like doing artful reviews of anything in the food space, I'm going to be black-pilled and bearish towards anybody who's doing that sort of stuff online.
Well, lucky for you, the internet seems to love hearing what old men from Texas have to say about things. So I'm going to throw it to you for product segments here. I have this for you this week: Liquid IV hot chocolate packets, Dirty Gut probiotic chocolate, and M&M's Popped, which is a freeze-dried caramel M&M. I got some chocolates for you for this Halloween episode.
So I've tried the Element hot chocolate, which is a salty, not very sweet electrolyte powder. And I thought when I saw that, I was like, ugh, that's so gross because they have like grapefruit and lime and then chocolate. Yuck. But then they say on the directions like, oh, try it hot. And I did try it. It's quite good. So, salty electrolyte chocolate thing that isn't necessarily milky can be good.
I could see it being good, especially with like a splash of like milk or cream in there. I will say that the Liquid IV one looks like it's going to be a lot less salty. Element has about 1,000 milligrams of sodium, and Liquid IV only has like 250. I've had a couple of like the citrus flavored Element ones before, and they really like smack you in the face with that salt.
That's like half of your recommended daily value.
Yeah, 42% to be exact. But everyone I know that regularly consumes like electrolyte packs, whether it's because they are like very active or a hiker, or a friend I have with POTS, like they're all watering down these electrolyte packets like significantly. Like the packet says put it in like 16 ounces of water, and they're all putting it in like 32 to 40 ounces of water because it's really, really salty and intense. You definitely couldn't do that with the hot chocolate packet, or you just have like a Yoo-hoo type substance where it's just like chocolatey water. And if you do drink it in a really small container, like an 8, 10, 12 ounce like size hot chocolate with a ton of sodium in it is going to be really strong.
I know wives like to complain about their husbands like littering the house with used up Zins that they stick everywhere. And my version of that is my wife is always littering the house with half opened, half empty Liquid IV containers, because it's the same thing where she'll like put half of it in a 32-ounce water bottle and leave the rest for next time. As for the Dirty Gut probiotic chocolate, I actually thought like, ooh, it's kind of a transgressive name. I bet this is like a really high-end luxury brand that looks beautiful and just kind of has a cheeky little name. And then I look it up, I see the packaging, it just looks like poop-themed Feastables.
That is the only reason I put that on the roster this week. I saw it and I was like, oh, Dirty Gut, like that sounds disgusting. And then I went and looked them up and I was like, oh, they're even turd-shaped. That's crazy. Like the chocolate itself, it is like a flat little puck, but it's like a little spiral, like a dog turd. It's disgusting. I think it's funny. I think that, like being able to like gross people out is like a great way of getting people's attention. I don't want to put it in my mouth though. I really don't.
They have my attention and they will not have my dollar. The M&M's Popped, I think that freeze drying is a nice development in candy technology. I think Skittles was the big one a couple years ago, and it seems like it proliferated partly because people could start their own little micro businesses making their own freeze-dried Skittles and selling them at the farmer's market or whatever, and maybe having a big brand offering their own will bring the prices down. I don't know if you know what these cost, but it's like now somebody doesn't have to buy M&Ms and then freeze dry them because M&M's company Hershey can just freeze dry them themselves.
Something that I thought was really interesting about this is that, if this is like, say, like a new M&M's like line that they're going to try to do, the flavor options are really limited because in order for something to be like freeze dryable like that, there has to be a lot of moisture that's like coming out of it. And in this case, that's the caramel filling. But if you were to do that with a regular M&M, I don't think that you would have like a really desirable result. And there's not a lot of M&Ms that have like a liquidy filling like that. Like I think that you could maybe do it with a peanut butter M&M and you might get like something in there, but I don't know that I could see this being more than like a little bit of like a cute limited edition thing.
It's my understanding that the chocolate melts when you're freeze drying it, so you can't do the chocolate. But there's pretzel, there's like a cookie butter, there's all sorts of M&M fillings now, and so you might have a big potential. And maybe if this line sells really well, they'll just branch out and do an entirely different candy. I don't know if you remember Sixlets; those were very good, and nobody gives away Sixlets anymore. My Halloween candy of choice.
Sixlets. No, I'm thinking of Chiclets. I'm thinking of the gum that looked like teeth.
No. Well, I can't stay much longer. I'm sick.
I'll raise a glass to that.
Where's Jeffrey?
See everybody next week.
Where's Jeffrey? He's never there. Eater's Digest is published every Friday morning on YouTube with video and Spotify with audio. You can support the show by subscribing, by sharing it with somebody who might like it, or by joining our Discord at patreon.com/Shaq. Goodbye.
I wanted to make a bad Jeffrey joke there, but we can't do that.
Oh, my bad Ina Garten joke is that I've always secretly known her name rhymes with, and I'm never like putting that up. I could see that as like some kind of like Action Bronson rap lyric where it's like, I'm with Ina Garten and I make sure, and like something like that. But do you have
Derek,
contacts
can you
in?
please put that in as
No,
like a
do
little
not put that
blooper
in.
at the end,
Do not put
please?
that- Do you have contacts
Oh,
in, or
man.
is that just what your eyes look like without glasses on?
No, I just don't have glasses on.
Oh,
I've been
wow.
like really struggling to read the document this whole time.
All right, very good. Good luck, Derek.